Hey everyone, Shane here from Freetechtorials.com. I'm here today to bring your 8th Java tutorial. In this tutorial today we're going to be talking about arithmetic operators. Now we've talked about arithmetic operators in one of my earlier tutorials, and we're going to be talking about them again today, just kind of showing you guys how those work inside your program, as well as how they work whenever you're using variables instead of using actual numbers. So what I've got on my screen here is just I've created four integer variables, and I've assigned them to a arithmetic operation here. So in the first one we've got 10 plus 5, 10 minus 5, 10 times 5, and 10 divided by 5. So the plus and minus are pretty familiar to everybody. The things that you may not be familiar with is the asterisk here, which signifies multiplication, and the forward slash here, which signifies division. If you haven't seen that before, anytime you're working in programming in higher level math, you're always going to see these. So if you're used to seeing different symbols for the multiply and divide, get used to using these instead, because that's what you'll be using for here on out. And then down here we've just got 4 lines of code that print out each of these variables onto our screen so that we can see the result. Now let's go ahead and run this and let's see what we get. Alright, so what we get down here is we get 15 for the addition, 5 for the subtraction, 50 for the multiplication, and 2 for the division. So that's pretty simple. That's kind of what we expected to get here. So the only problem with what we've got here is that we've got these numbers, what's called hard-coded into our program, meaning they're actual numbers, they're not variables. So the problem that creates is that anytime we want to change these numbers, we have to go through our program and individually, one by one, manually change them. So let's say, for instance, we wanted to change the value 10 to 20. We would have to go to each one of these lines and change that. And it's not that bad in this scenario here, but when you have a lot bigger program, that can get really cumbersome. So we'd have to go line by line and change that value. And then say we do that. Say we go line by line, change it to 20, and then 2 months down the road we decide we need to change that to 30 now. We've got to do the same thing over again with every single line, find where 10's at, and change it to 20 or 30 or whatever we're doing. So to get past that, what we can do is we can create variables to represent those numbers instead of actually coding the hard number into our program here. So let's go ahead and do that. So we'll go ahead and create a variable. It's going to be integer. We'll just name it num1, and we'll set that equal to 10. So what we can do now is we can take this num1 and we can replace it everywhere there's a number 10. So this might look a little weird here, because now what we've got a variable plus 5. But I'll show you here that when we run this, we get the same exact results, and that's because we know that number 1 really means number 10. But what that does for us now, if in the future, if we want to change it to be 20 plus 5 and 20 minus 5, then all we have to do is come here, change that to 20, and when we run it, we get the values that reflect the new number we've chosen. There we go. So now we get all the values like 20 plus 5, 20 minus 5, 20 times 5, and 20 divided by 5. So we can go ahead and do the same thing with our other number. Let's do number 2 equals 5, and then we'll go ahead and replace all those 5's with num2. Here. There we go. So let's go and run that again. And we get the same numbers again. So as we can see here, even though there's really no real numbers here, we're only adding, subtracting, multiplying, dividing variables. Since those variables really represent these numbers, we're getting that result. So like I said, this is an easy way to help you in the future kind of cut down on the work it takes to change any of the values in your program. Now, one of the cool things to know here too is that you can also do arithmetic in your statements, your output statements to your user. Like, so say we have the added total here, and we know right now that equals 25. Let's say we want to go ahead and add another 10 to it. We can go ahead and do that right there in our print line statement. So we run that. It was 25, and now it's 35. And we can also go ahead and add variables in the print line statement as well. So say we wanted to do the added total, and we want to add to that the subtracted total. We can go and run that. And there we go, it changes our number again. So those are all of the arithmetic operators that you're going to use on a normal basis, and that's just some of the ways that you can use them. Like I said, don't be afraid to use variables, or even add numbers to variables, add variables together, any of that stuff. You really want to get comfortable and used to doing that, because it's really going to help you out in the future. So that's pretty much it for this tutorial. It's a good thing to have a good grasp on, because we're going to be doing some cool things in the near future, like some condition statements, some loops, and some if statements as well, which are all really cool, really powerful things. But it's a good thing to have a understanding on is these arithmetic operators, because we'll use these in all those things I just mentioned. So if you like the video, make sure to like and subscribe, and I'll catch you guys next time.